Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Man, talk about a game with an amazing concept, but whose execution I have doubts about because of the live service components that are going into it. The folks at Rocksteady recently showcased the game during the latest State of PlayStation, and you can see right here the likes to dislikes ratio on the State of Play as a whole is already not looking great. But then you look at videos specifically highlighting Suicide Squad and you'll find that the likes to dislikes ratio is even worse. Here's PlayStation's official upload of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League official co-op gameplay. It's 6 minutes long that just purely shows gameplay. You can see right here 5.9 thousand likes versus a whopping 19,000 dislikes. And scrolling down you can see some of the feedback that people have been sharing, including, yes, Captain Boomerang and his signature weapon, shotgun, referring to the fact that a lot of the gameplay in this game just seems to be third-person shooting, while the different characters do have melee attacks and special abilities and whatnot. And while there is a lot of verticality with how large the levels look and how you can traverse aerially either by swinging or flying around, the core gameplay of each character ultimately feels like it's just shooting, and like that's the majority of what you'll be doing, which is a bit disappointing and makes each hero less unique, stand out less. It's a stark contrast from Rocksteady's previous Arkham series games, where the entirety of those games' combat revolved around making you feel like Batman. His entire kit felt Batman appropriate. Whereas in Suicide Squad, it just feels like at its core, it's kind of like a generic third-person looter-shooter with superhero elements attached to it rather than a purely superhero game where you really feel like those characters. Again, I haven't played the game, I'll hold out judgment, but, you know, what they showed us, I don't know, it was just not jiving with me. And I don't know if it was just me, but looking at the gameplay, there were aspects of it that looked janky, the animation transitions and whatnot. There was just something about it that felt very looter-shootery. When you look at multiplayer games, you can tell that there has to be a sacrifice in fidelity to accommodate the technical aspects of multiplayer, whereas in a single-player experience, because it's an isolated instance, you can really push the graphics and animation fidelity. And I feel like some of that gets lost in Suicide Squad because it is primarily a multiplayer experience. You can play it single player with bots, but it feels very much like it is a live service a la Marvel's Avengers. I do think it looks better than Marvel's Avengers, though that's not saying much. But it's got those vibes of, oh, I'm going to be grinding a lot, and it is going to try to draw out the experience as much as possible. It's not going to be this very meticulously designed and properly paced experience. I don't know, that's just the feeling I get. Again, haven't played the game. We'll have to hold out, but that's the general worry that people have. I do like the cutscenes that I've seen so far. Maybe it'll have a good enough story to carry the experience through, but the fact that the game has been designed with a live service co-op experience in mind means that playing it solo, I get the sense that the overall level design, game design, set piece design, and whatnot will be held back, that the campaign won't feel like it has that level of handcraftedness that single-player focused experiences do. The kind of handcraftedness you see in something like God of War or, hell, the old Arkham titles. Here's another comment that reads, Battle Pass, check. Looter shooter mechanics, check. Gear score, check. Damage numbers, check. Builds, check. Mindless hack and slash, check. Well done, Rocksteady. Everything the gaming community just loves about AAA live service titles. Some people are hoping that at least this game has more enemy variety than Marvel's Avengers. Man, I just hope it's not like Avengers where you're killing the same Brainiac bots over and over again. And then some are expressing disappointment that given Rocksteady's pedigree that this is what we're getting out of them 8 years after the last title. We had to wait 8 years for another Rocksteady game and we got this. And the list just goes on and on. These are generally the types of comments that you'll see scrolling down. Just the general expression of disappointment and concern that this is not the kind of game that people will want out of a Suicide Squad AAA video game, much like how Marvel's Avengers wasn't the type of experience that people were hoping for out of an Avengers AAA game. And looking at other Suicide Squad uploads, you can see that the likes to dislikes ratio is similar. This video that I showed you right here is just the gameplay segment, but there is a second video that was uploaded to the official PlayStation channel. Developers commenting over gameplay and kind of highlighting the features you can expect out of it. The dev commentary footage YouTube upload, you can see right here, has 1.5 thousand likes versus a whopping 5.9 thousand dislikes. Scrolling through the comments here, you can see that people are expressing a similar level of disappointment based on what they saw in the showcase and based on the fact that it was confirmed in the showcase that this game would be heavily leaning into live service models. Reception doesn't fare better in other outlets' uploads, like IGN here uploaded the extended gameplay of Suicide Squad. You can see right here, 5.9 thousand likes versus 7.4 thousand dislikes. Here's another IGN upload, the game overview trailer with the dev commentary, 6.2 thousand likes versus 10,000 dislikes. This is GameSpot's upload of the co-op gameplay trailer, 3.3 thousand likes versus 6.7 thousand dislikes, so on and so forth. You get the idea. And the main culprit behind the negative reception is this portion of the showcase where the developers kind of talk about the live service elements and show UI that very much resemble what you'd see in a live service. So let me show this to you guys, and yeah, it's not something that I'm particularly enthused about. So here we go.
Each character has a power level in the game that we call gear score. As you acquire new gear in the game, your gear score goes up. And as that number goes up, it means that you can take on much harder missions. As part of this progression journey,
gear with different rarities,
more and more builds, more and more ways to customize your character to really fit the way you want to play.
Every firearm in our game
just a bunch of stuff you'd be looting.
So in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice
and then
League,
shooting.
you're gonna get lots of choice to use the weapons that you need to complete your missions, but most importantly, you will be able to customize your squad.
A lot of cosmetics.
Like.
That no doubt they'll lock behind microtransactions, battle pass.
The outfits you can be running around in your asylum jail outfit.
Not stuff you can unlock purely through gameplay.
I like it.
Our game is a 1 to 4 player co-op experience, which means that all the missions in the game have been designed to support solo play, playing with a friend, 2 friends, or 3 friends.
For the single-player fans, you can play
so Marvel's Avengers-esque,
filling in the role of the squad, so
but hopefully with
feel like you're part of
better
team,
design levels and
you can switch them if you want.
Missions and activities.
Or we can say, well, I think Harley will be
gameplay
for this mission, so I'm going to switch over and we're going to try her out.
But if you really want to tear it up, going in with a full group
the
of
ding, 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 right there.
Experience the full mayhem.
That just felt like such a looter
you get to
shooter
really
thing.
Experience the dynamics between how you can all play together in different play styles.
All the stuff that enemies drop.
To take on Brainiac and the Justice League.
All the fun is right here.
There's a smoothness to the gameplay that seems cool, but
doesn't end there. Rocksteady will continue its legacy of supporting the game after it's launched.
We're going to deliver lots of new content to our players. We're going to have new playable characters, new weapons, and new missions. For players who like to customize their looks, we'll offer a battle pass that only contains cosmetic
there it
items.
is.
There's just going to be so much for the players to enjoy.
Just picture it.
They're literally just describing a live service without saying the word live service, because they know the stigma that it carries.
If you like co-op games, if you like customizing your characters, if you want to
stigma
play
that's reasonable given
this game kind of has it all.
It's very fast-paced. It's really
what live
colorful,
services
it's loud
have
and
become
unapologetic and in your face, and it's going to be really, really fun.
Hey,
the negative aspects to live services that have seeped into gaming. So yeah, that's the segment that made people go, ugh. On top of the fact that the gameplay just looks more generic looter-shooter than the Arkham series, which had such a unique identity in both visuals and gameplay because it was specifically built to be a single-player, isolated Batman experience. This is all just literally giving off the same vibes that Marvel's Avengers did. It does look better than Marvel's Avengers again, but it's never a good thing to get any sort of vibe that's related to Marvel's Avengers. This is just not the direction I was expecting this game to go. This is just not what a lot of people wanted out of a Rocksteady game. And the best we can hope for is that when we do get our hands on it, it pleasantly surprises us. In the meantime, though, we have to just contend with the fact that this is a live service, and this is a game that, despite allowing you to play solo with bots, will require an internet connection even if you're playing single player. This is something that was relayed by Rocksteady itself in their FAQ page. Here's a screenshot from Wario 64. Zooming into the image, you can see that there's a segment that reads, "Is an internet connection required to play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League?" The response reads, "Yes, an internet connection is required to play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, solo or via online co-op. And if you're getting a sense of deja vu out of that, it's because I recently covered Redfall and how that game also has the exact same restriction that was also disclosed on the game's official page's FAQ. It's also worth noting that last month on January 2023, there was a Suicide Squad leak that was first posted to 4chan before it spread to other social media platforms and forums and news outlets, revealing Warzone-like UI, Battle Pass menu, and more. I'm not going to show that screenshot here because Warner Brothers is going on a copyright takedown spree, but there's a screenshot that was verified by Video Games Chronicle here. They said that the screenshot has been verified by a VGC source. It is understood to originate from a recent test build and shows various menus planned for the Rocksteady co-op game. Now, of course, Rocksteady didn't give us an in-depth dive into the live service components, into the Battle Pass menu, the UI, and all these things because they know that that's the stuff people are least enthusiastic about, but based on that leaked screenshot, Insider Gaming bullet listed some assumptions that they made based on what they saw in that screenshot, some features that seem likely based on the contents of that leak. They said here in this article from last month that it seems likely that the game will boast single-player and multiplayer gameplay, which we now know to be true, and will also feature a Battle Pass optional upgrade, through which no doubt many of the most highly coveted cosmetics and whatnot will be locked behind. And I wouldn't put it past them if they put in some gameplay-affecting rewards as well, like, I don't know, XP boosters and the usual stuff. Now, here's where things get really grim. There are no fewer than 6 in-game currencies. That usually is an indicator for a very grindy experience. Could point towards a rather grindy requirement. I'm extremely worried about that aspect. I hate grinding on the level that live services demand. I just want a well-paced experience that has a beginning, middle, and end that I can feel satisfied with, that doesn't drag an experience out to the point of just tedium. Though, of course, insufferable grind is an intentional aspect of the experience because that's what's going to make people throw their hands up and go, screw it, I'll just spend money on this instead of treating this as my full-time job. Game companies like to call these microtransactions time savers, but really they are frustration mitigators. And the confusion generated by all of the different currencies will further incentivize people to just spend real money on things and get them quickly, and will also add a degree of separation between the in-game premium currencies and the real dollar value and worth. As far as UI goes, it was stated here that options closely resemble the likes of Warzone and Back 4 Blood. We got a glimpse of the UI in the gameplay showcase, and yeah, it looks like every other looter shooter, every other live service. The gear equipping, all the different rarities, all the different currencies, just everything that was on display. I'm like, oh man, that gives me a bad feeling. I've seen that UI design and framework before. The leaks show that there's going to be an in-game store, suggesting that skins and other cosmetics will be things that you can buy for real-world money. The leak back then indicated that you'd be able to play solo with bots, which we now know to be true. And then finally, the leak showed a loadout menu that further opens the door to microtransactions-like potential. So yeah, look, I cannot deny that my hype for Suicide Squad and for the prospect of just a new Rocksteady game has diminished significantly. I'm approaching this game with a heavy dose of cautious, I don't even want to say optimism. Honestly, I feel like I'm a little more pessimistic at this point. I've been so burned by these types of games, and Marvel's Avengers especially was such a travesty, and this resembles Marvel's Avengers so much in terms of its live service model that I cannot help but be pessimistic. I hope they prove me wrong, but given the history and track record of live services such as this, given the kinds of experiences that I've gotten out of live service models that implement similar features, it's going to be very difficult for me to really be thrilled about this one. And that goes doubly true because the gameplay, just forget about the live service stuff, just looking at the core gameplay, I was a little underwhelmed. It just feels like it has a very live service, looter, shootery, generic kind of gameplay framework where so much of it is just shooting enemies with the guns that you'll be looting. It doesn't feel like the game leverages their individual abilities and powers as much as they could have because the live service framework is kind of the top priority in this game design. And even just the game design, the level design, the set pieces are much more reminiscent of sort of generic live service missions rather than the kinds of fully fleshed out scenarios you get in more campaign focused experiences. But that's just me. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on Suicide Squad based on the gameplay footage we have seen and based on the information relayed about what very clearly are live service elements. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.